you covered with all you need to know. Welcome to Sunrise Carolina with Joey Hudson on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
If you missed parts of today's show, be sure and check it out on my podcast. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth, wherever you listen to podcasts or on the Odyssey app. Your comments are always welcome on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. Text or call. One number does it all. 1-800-905-0989. Emails joey@joeyhudson.com. The first regular session of the 126th South Carolina General Assembly convenes later this morning. Representing the people of House District 117 in Berkely County, Representative Jordan Pace. He's also chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, and he joins us on our guest line today. Welcome, Representative Pace. How are you, sir?
Hey, Joey. Thanks for having me. Doing great.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate your time. Let's just start with a quick overview of the issues that you see as priorities as you go back into session.
Yeah. So we have a list of eight things for the Freedom Caucus that are kind of in our priority list, but one of the first is closing the primaries. This has been brought up. A bill has been filed to do this for 18 years. Somehow, despite having a supermajority now in both houses, we still haven't got it done. The whole premise of that, for those who want to know, is that only Republicans should vote in Republican primaries, and only Democrats should vote in Democrat primaries. And if we had that, like many other states do, then perhaps we wouldn't have the reputation in South Carolina as being the most liberal Republican-dominated state in the country.
Yeah,
on both the state and federal level. So that's pretty high on our list.
What has been the pushback on that? I mean, who would object to closing the primaries?
Well, the trouble is, if we can get it to the floor, it would pass. But the trouble is getting through committees, and and on the committee side. Again, we have a supermajority, but we have, even on judiciary, which is where those kind of bills go for subcommittee and committee, there are Democrats chairing subcommittees.
Yeah.
And a bill's got to get through subcommittee to get through committee to get to the floor. So most of the time, closing the primary bills don't even get a subcommittee hearing, and that's where essentially it gets smacked down. So if we can get it to the floor, I think it passed.
Yeah.
But the kind of adjacent to that is election integrity. We have everything from increasing the number of hand-counted audits to stopping taxpayer money from being used to provide voter registration forms for non-citizens. That's something that got brought up a little bit toward the end of last session. From the upstate, actually, there were some non-citizens, some immigrants, legal immigrants, who brought it to our attention that they kept receiving over and over again these voter registration forms. And we tried to put an amendment in the budget to stop our state agencies from doing that, and it didn't get enough votes. But those are the kind of things we want the voters of South Carolina to feel secure in their elections, and that means close the primaries. Actually having real substantial audits in the precincts, and make sure non-citizens are not having voter registration forms delivered to them over and over and over again.
Yeah. On our guest line today, Representative Jordan Pace, that's another issue there that just makes no sense to me why anyone would oppose that. I can't imagine Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever your party affiliation may be, that you would want a non-citizen voting in our election.
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask them why they'd oppose it. But like I said, most of the time, it's not open opposition. It's using the rules or using kind of the machine of government, the committee structure to prevent it from ever coming up.
Yeah.
But we've proven. And we've proven when money's on the line, they can get things done quick. I think we passed that
real quick
handout to Scout Motors, $1.3 billion out of the Treasury in record time, less than 2 weeks.
Yes.
9 days, 10 days, something like that. So we can do things fast when there's motivation to do it. We just need, the voters need to call and tell their reps, hey, get this done like 20 years ago.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe they could act that quickly on some tax cuts that I've been hearing a lot about. A number of your colleagues have said that we're going to be looking for some tax cuts. Is that one of your priorities as well?
The very first bill I ever filed when I first got elected was to cut the income tax to zero. Not even graduated, just go straight to zero.
Yeah.
And so that's near and dear to my heart. All of our neighbors that are, the fast growth states, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, none of them have an income tax. And then now all of our surrounding states are lower than ours. There's been various talk, and look, I'm encouraged that leadership has heard us talk about it for years. The members of the Freedom Caucus, even before it formed, were filing bills to do this. Yeah, so it's good, and that's kind of been the pattern, honestly, for the last little while. Is we stake out a position that the voters have told us that they want: close primaries, eliminate the income tax, ban transgender surgeries for kids, all that kind of stuff. And we get made fun of, and they'll call us names in the chamber, but eventually they get on board with it. So that's kind of how it's been working, and that's fine. So it's good that they caught on. Yeah, I hope it goes to zero. The speakers talked about getting it to zero. What I'm afraid I haven't heard much from leadership, though, is about cutting spending.
Right.
So if we cut taxes, we got to cut spending.
Yeah.
And so far, they have not picked up that side of the coin from the cutting taxes side. So my fear is they'll try to make it up in some way or the other, either raise taxes on sales tax or something else to be revenue neutral.
Right.
That's not the word we need. We need an actual cut, and we need a cut in spending on top of it, because look, if you look at the states around us, we have a state government that is 50% larger as a ratio of our economy than all of our neighbors.
Yep.
The average southern states government outlays about 8% of their GDP, of their economy. Ours is 12.
Yeah.
So there's things to cut, and I've got a pretty good list going that we'll hear about in March when the budget comes out.
Sure. With us today, Representative Jordan Pace. One of the other things, of course, that there's been a lot of discussion about is tort reform. We've had a lot of businesses, primarily restaurants, bars, grills, that type of thing, who have closed. Some of these have been in business for a long, long time, but their liability insurance just got so prohibitive that they could not stay in business. What do you see happening along the way of tort reform?
Yeah, I think we have a really good momentum on that. There's been a large coalition. I think they're having a press conference tomorrow afternoon, of groups all around. It's not just bars and restaurants. I mean, that's kind of what's caught most of the news. It's industrial companies and machinists and basically anybody who has a fleet of vehicles has started to see the same thing. And frankly, in the next few years, it's probably going to even trickle down into the service industry, like childcare and nursing homes.
Right.
For all the same reasons, it's because of the torts and the lawsuits, and it's the trial lawyers who are making a killing, while the rest of us are having to pay the difference. And it's destroying hundreds, like you said, of small businesses, maybe even more than that. There's a bigger coalition than there's ever been. And they seem to be very determined, and I'm very encouraged by that. The Senate sent us a decent bill last year that the House never even picked up in committee. So we almost made some progress last year. Hopefully we'll make more progress this time.
Sure.
It's certainly something that's high on our list because it's affecting, like I said, thousands of individuals around the state.
It really is. Again, on our guest line today with me, Representative Jordan Pace. One of the things, and you and I have talked about this offline, is HOA reform. I get a lot of feedback from people who bought a home in a neighborhood that has an HOA, and then they realize, there's not a lot of transparency necessarily. They pay HOA fees. Yeah. They don't know how they're being spent. Are you guys looking at that?
Yeah, I know several bills have been filed and more will be to increase transparency, to provide some judicial oversight, other than going to circuit court, which is already jammed up with every other kind of loss, every other kind of suit that you can think of. There's a lot of people that are unhappy, justifiably, with their HOAs, because it's a form of government. I mean, it's oftentimes a private form of government, but it's still a form of government. They can put liens on your house. They can do all kinds of stuff similar to what government can. And Florida's kind of led the way on this, like a lot of things. So I'm hoping we will kind of look to their model and what they've done in regards to HOA reform and follow that lead.
Sure. Representative Pace, it's been a pleasure. Seems like the time just really flies here because I know there are a lot of other issues we could talk about. I hope that you'll plan to join us again sometime soon and maybe throughout the session, and just give us an update and keep us informed along the way. Absolutely.
It's always good to talk with you, Joey, and get back to my upstate roots where I grew up.
Sure thing. Representative Jordan Pace. Your comments are welcome on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. Text or call, one number does it all, 800-9050-989. You can leave a voice message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code JOEY when you go to MyPillow.com to get the very best deal on every single product. Emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. And if you missed parts of today's show, just catch it later on my podcast. Listen on the free Odyssey app. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth. Doesn't matter how you join the conversation. It's just important that you do join the conversation.
The latest news and views that relate to you. This is Sunrise Carolina with Joey Hudson on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.